Welcome to Life Hacks from the Baobab with Mayase and Clayton, where proverbs, folktales, and ancient wisdom come to life. Would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we host our podcast, the Bunurong and Wadawarang in Victoria, and the Kabi Kabi peoples in Queensland. We pay our respects to elders past and present. And we're back with another proverb. The proverb for this week is attributed to the Kubal people of Algeria.
Yeah. And the proverb goes, the one whose belly isn't full of straw isn't afraid of fire. Uh, yeah, so this is from the Algerian people. And the intimation is if you are to speak and you shouldn't be afraid of speaking because when you open your mouth and your belly has no straw in it, you won't catch fire, so it's fine. You can speak if whatever you're gonna say is the truth and you're being honest. You shouldn't have a problem speaking. However, if you suspect your belly to be full of straw, maybe don't speak because it's gonna catch fire. Yeah, and so it's very interesting looking this one up. And so it's basically filter your words. Be careful what you say and when to speak and know when not to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. This is an interesting one because I think we've actually found one where we have different I have a different connotation. Well, not a different connotation. I have a different understanding of the proverb.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the first one that we kind of like have a different understanding. Which is good. I love the speaking and the fire. So we'll come back to it. What I had was because I was thinking about like, you know, the analogies. There's the belly, there's the straw, there's the fire, and I was like, but you don't actually eat straw, right? Like we're not horses. We don't eat
Mm,
straw.
yeah.
So what is it like? Why did they use the belly? Because like the belly from humans' perspective, or anyway from an animal, it's a lot about like nourishment. Like if you're full in your belly, it's about nourishment. But then
Yeah.
straws, we as humans don't eat straws, but straws are used for like, they're easily flammable. They're for kind of like you can put fires, and if you expose them to fire, and then, you know, a fire goes. And then so I was really thinking about it in that kind of like, what is it? Fire kind of like is maybe like an exposure of something,
Mm,
and the straws as well are kind of like they will, if they burn quickly, something will catch. And then, but why the belly? What is it? Um,
mm,
anyway, so my research kind of came because that's like what I had in mind and all of this.
mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so my research was more around like the proverb is also thinking in terms of when you have something, right? So like something that is going to, for example, if you have a belly full of straw and the fire comes in, then it's just going to build up.
Mhm.
So, from a kind of like, if you have a solid foundation of something,
Mm,
then it's going to uh, flame up, right?
mm, mm.
Grow, and it's going to stay or something like that. As
There'll
a
be something to sustain it, right?
Yeah, the
Mm.
straw is sustained by the fire, is sustained by the
By
straw
the straw. Yeah.
because once you have straw, it can just burn really quickly. Because in my head, I was like, if you had a belly full of water, fire would do nothing to water,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Totally.
Fire will do nothing there, and so really about like the revealing aspects of the things that we keep. Um,
Mm,
and if I think about like the belly being an inside part of the body, it's really stored. And so
yeah.
those things that we keep in us, depending on what they are, at some point they can just be like a fire. They can be something that exposes a challenge or exposes a truth.
Mm,
If the
mm.
foundation is straw, right? Then that exposure is like boom, as opposed to like if the foundation is water, the fire is not going to do anything to
Yeah.
that type of thing.
No,
Uh,
that's a very wow, that's a very interesting take.
where I went down.
It's a very different way of looking at it. Like it's so different, but I like it because, like, now that I think about it, hearing you describe it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I if your belly isn't full of straw, then yeah, definitely don't be afraid of the fire.
Yeah,
Because like if you think of like taking an exam, right? If you've done all the prep
if you,
and
yeah,
you're ready for it, it's like, yeah, you're ready to face that
yeah,
fire because like you have all the straw, right? It's like, yeah, we're gonna burn through this, no
yeah.
problem, right?
If you're not prepared, it's just water in there. So you're just kind of like, woo, I don't even know how we're going to do this. I can't
Yeah.
fix anything up in here.
No, it's fantastic. I love it, and it also reminds me of those like conversations like that catch fire. Like
Mm,
where you kind of like start off in one place and the conversation gets like really flowy and it takes a life of its own and it kind of like just keeps going, right?
yeah,
But you
yeah.
do need to have the straw for it to happen,
You
right?
have to have, you have to have it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
if like um the way you had it, the way you understood it in terms of like what comes out of your mouth can, I'm thinking about this. I'm like, sometimes what comes out of your mouth is gonna burn people.
yeah.
Right? So you have to be careful because that fire might just be like scorching and it will scorch everything out there, whether you mean it or not. So like watch
You,
that.
yeah, what you say? Because like you could just start a fire, and before you know it, you set the whole place on fire, and it's like, it, what is it they say about being careful with your words because you can't unsay them?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Once they're out there, the truth is out there, and maybe the truth of what you were wanting not to expose is exposed.
yeah. No, for the longest time, I used to be so afraid to speak because you had to be measured, you had to like really be careful what you say. And to this day, like I'll like when I'm inviting like a someone to come to podcast, and most of the time the question is going to be, what are we going to talk about? Give me everything. I want to know everything so that when I speak I don't get in trouble. And I'm going like, no, no, you won't get in trouble. I will really make sure you don't get in trouble. I'll be so nice. But people don't believe that.
Yeah.
They need something
Yeah,
because,
that was me. I was
yeah.
confessed. I was one of them. I'm like, you need to send me the questions. It needs to be structured. What do I do? These are the things. Like, tell me everything. And they're like, no, we'll just make it. And I'm like, no, 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 no.
No, I completely get it. But I understand because like I have also been in that situation. And of course, like with time, you learn certain techniques, you learn certain uh ways of speaking that sort of like allow you to say only the things you want to say and say them in a way that they can be received well. And it's sort of like a practice you develop. And with time, it gets to a place whereby you're very confident that you can say only what you want to say, the
Yeah,
way you want to say it, and nothing else is gonna come out. Only that, only
yeah,
what you intend. And what I've come to find is, it takes time to actually develop such technique, but it's actually very achievable. And once you've managed to develop it, then it's fine. It's like you now have the license to speak.
Yeah. But there's something there as well, which has taken me. I think this is from the Bible.
Mm.
Do not ask me what Bible verse it is, but there's something about like out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, or something like that.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard about that before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. And it goes back to like what you were saying of like, once your intention is clear, you're not going to sidestep or say the wrong thing because where it's coming from the abundance of the heart. It's coming
Yeah.
from your own truth. So there's no way you can say the wrong thing. Unless you're like our politicians who are out here to sell things to us. They need to check themselves because what they might be saying is not what they might be implementing. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I actually also believe in that core. Once your intention is right, maybe you might feel afraid about how you pronounce things or how you articulate things. But
Mm.
whatever you're going to say is going to come from that place of intention and that place of like, whether you're right or wrong, it's like your truth is what's going to be exposed.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And by the way, a lot of people have this doubt, but it's something that I try to like encourage people. It's like, don't, because most of the time we're speaking from our minds, what
Mm,
we're thinking. And so we're trying to be very logical. We're trying to be very scientific in our speech. But actually, a place you can lean into that you don't have to do all that work. It's just your body. Like if you lean into your body and how it feels when you say certain things and the discomfort which comes, the anxious, the anxiety you get when you're saying things you don't want to say, you can like really lean into those senses. And so with time, you just feel it. You just feel like, nah, it doesn't feel right to say this.
mm,
And, or it feels right to say something. And it's hard to articulate, but once you learn how to actually know how things feel for you, instead of what you're thinking, but you start to speak about how you're feeling, using that felt embodied language, it quickly takes you to kind of like be aligned with your intentions. And in the process of doing that, you're not going to like unnecessarily embarrass yourself because
mm.
you're really speaking from what you feel, what you believe, and as honestly as you can. And I think it's really good for people to know this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's also like I think sometimes it's that thing about like you have that there's power in your truth. There
Mm.
is power in you using your words and your voice, and your
Yeah.
words are important, your voice is important. Um a lot of the times, and I think probably also like maybe it's not an African thing, but I think in the African context, it's really big for kids to know their place. So we don't find our voices until we were like way older.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a hierarchy, and in that hierarchy, as long as you're a child in your parents' home, at your uncle's or wherever, your voice should be the last voice to be ever heard. But as
Mm.
we're growing and we become adults and we become parents, your voice needs to be elevated, needs to be heard. Your
Yeah.
voice is now the power that's kind of like moving through. But it takes a long time for us to really just own our voices, find our true voices, and start kind of like speaking from that intention, speaking from that power, because we've always been nah, 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 nah.
Yeah.
And
You've
you don't,
always been squashed.
yeah, you don't know when you stop being nah, 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 and you have a seat at the table like the elders, right? You don't know when that is.
Yeah, because you keep asking, it's like, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Can I now speak? Am I
Yeah,
allowed?
yeah,
But you're asking yourself.
exactly. And so by the time you get it in your head that your voice is power, your words are power, and you can actually use them to kind of like shift your own life, shift other people's, it takes a long time for you to believe in that
Mm.
power that your voice has.
Yeah, yeah, it does take a long time, uh, and it's interesting because like you could even have been doing it the whole time, and lots of people are sort of like responding to it. But if you are not aware of it, you don't really know. You sort of like you attribute it to kind of like some superstitious events. You kind of like, oh, it was just luck. Oh, it's because it rained that day. Oh, it's
Yeah,
because I was wearing my lucky jumper. But actually, it's not. Like you have a certain power that you kind of like bring forth every time you actually like really believe yourself and you kind of like put yourself out there. It's like you bring your inner world into relationship with the outer world and magic happens. Yeah.
yeah,
I like to tell my children it's like you have superpowers of being you, right? Like yourself, you kind of like superheroes because you are yourself. There's no other person who is you. And so you need to know that because only you can be you, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And we need to kind of like always have that confidence to really just justify to ourselves that our voice is important. And maybe this is also, just extrapolating a lot from this proverb because we've taken the fire analogy and just run with it as well. Because, like from that perspective of like fire can be all consuming,
Mm,
it finds dry grass, if it's straw, whatever, it will just go everywhere. And that's the power of it.
yeah.
And in my head, that's also the power of everything that comes like from deep down, like your belly is your gut. I think there's scientific
Yeah.
scientific things about like your gut being like a really good teller of like whether things are right or wrong. Like your
Mm,
gut will tell you, and your
yeah.
body knows, and it will tell you. So
Yeah.
trusting the things that are coming from there, from your gut, from your belly, that they also have that same force and power, same as fire, to just kind of like consume as much as it can. Like you
Mm,
also have that power within you.
yeah.
And maybe it's also tied to what you were saying about listening to your body, because
Yeah.
your body will tell you whether this is the right decision or not. Not even
Mm,
just your voice, but it will tell you if you're sensing something, follow your gut. It knows
yeah.
what it's saying.
Yeah, no, that sensitivity, you have to be sensitive to that because it's kind of like that's data. It's kind of like this data coming at you, which you have to decide in real time what to do with. And yeah, so like I feel, like even with saying the phrase "I feel," right? Like we use it so much these days. It's like we're living in a time where we're allowed to feel. But if you actually take it like an extra step and you actually feel, then it will be so much in alignment and with what you want to say, what you want, what you're feeling, and what you actually believe. You will be one with yourself.
Mm, yeah, that's what we're aiming for. Enlightenment.
Yeah, yeah.
These moments are taking us closer to our own enlightenment. So, what do we want people to go away with this week? What's a life hack from this proverb for them?
I'd say lean into yourself, like really trust that felt experience, lean into your gut, how it feels when you speak, so that you can draw strength from it. Like if you're feeling right about something,
Mm,
then like really back yourself because if it wasn't right, you wouldn't feel right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I agree, and I think for me, it's really even talking to the power of like fire being all consuming, and we also have that power within us.
Mhm.
And so, like, if you think about it in the essence of where there is abundance, or where there is where there is power of your own understanding and your own intention, there's no fear there. You have
Yeah,
nothing to fear. You have, what does, well, fire maybe fears water. But anyway, like in the essence of like its power, it had so much power. And that power that's in there is also within us. We
yeah,
have that power, and we should use more of that power to just express not fearful things, but express positive things,
yeah.
express abundant um things as well. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our community. Share your thoughts and proverbs using life hacks from the Baobab tree. And connect with us at Baobab Life Hacks. Until next time, remember, ancient wisdom is timeless.